particular policy, but goes to some foundational issues about our democracy that I might not weigh in.
Now, the president said one reason he doesn't want to get involved in commenting on day-to-day politics is that it would run contrary to the tradition for an ex-president to be involved in this way. But he also believes it would inhibit the development of the kinds of new leaders and new voices he believes the Democratic Party needs to be successful in the future. And one more thing, Kate, I want to add here, just a new tweet from President-elect Trump that came across Twitter not long ago. He said, "The world was gloomy before I won. There was no hope. Now the market is up nearly 10%, and Christmas spending is over $1 trillion. My guess is that won't be the last we'll hear from President-elect Trump weighing in on this. Kate?
You can't really take credit for Christmas, but I guess you can. All right, Athena, great to see you. Thank you so much. Out front with me tonight, Rick Santorum, former Republican presidential candidate and former senator, of course, from Pennsylvania. Michael Nutter, former Democratic mayor of Philadelphia. David Gergen is here, former presidential advisor to 4 presidents. And Selena Zito, Washington Examiner staff reporter and New York Post columnist. You can't claim Christmas, Senator. You can't take credit for Christmas. Senator Santorum, please tell me, Trump weighing in on President Obama's comments saying no way that Obama could beat him. This is, yes, of course, a bit of Obama Monday morning quarterbacking about the election. But as the president-elect, why even take this on?
Well, because that's just who Donald Trump is, and at least for the time being, clearly through the this president-elect period, he's still going to have his Twitter account, and he's still going to use it. And you know, he has proven that the old adage that I know Mike Nutter lived by, which is if somebody attacks you in politics, you don't let that sit very long. You go right back at it. And he's taken that to a new art form using Twitter. And I don't think that's going to change between now and January 20th. Now, the question is, after January 20, will it change?
Yeah.
And my recommendation would be, yes, it should change. How much it should change, I think that's how much can you persuade the president-elect to change those things, but I think it should change. He should be a lot more reticent in using it. I'm not saying he shouldn't use it, but he should be more reticent in using it.
There were a lot of people all throughout the campaign trying to change that man, Donald Trump, but it got him where he is today, that he did not change. Mayor Nutter, I know you want to weigh in. So Obama is critical of Trump with this comment, but there's also implicit criticism in this interview with David Axelrod, implicit criticism of Hillary Clinton and the campaign that she ran.
Well, Kate, I would probably push back a little bit. First, I don't think the president was critical of Donald Trump. He was talking about himself. And, you know, Mr. Trump is going to struggle with the fact that the majority of Americans who voted actually voted for Hillary Clinton. He did win the Electoral College. He's going to be the next president. We don't need to litigate that. But that just gets under his skin, and he's just going to have to deal with that. President Obama was talking about himself as a candidate. He ran 2 times. He won 2 times. He has a stellar record in many, many areas, and as he said, he would have articulated about the things that he has done. With regard to Secretary Clinton's campaign, I think the president was speaking in a more global fashion when he talked about it in a sports kind of analogy. Every pundit, every poll, anybody just about who was involved in this was predicting still toward the end that Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Right,
and
but Mayor, even David Axelrod said today that he thinks there's an implicit criticism there of Hillary Clinton coming from Obama. David Axelrod's the one who did the interview.
There'll be many people who will weigh in on, you know, what could have happened, what should have happened, and the president, in another part of that interview, acknowledged that it was a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking. I think to some extent he was also, again, talking about himself and his style of campaigning and the things that he did in 08 and 12, which obviously, again, were very, very successful. He also did praise Secretary Clinton and added in the fact that he thought that there was a double standard in terms of how she was treated during the course of the campaign.
So David Gergen, not to be left out of this, Hillary Clinton's campaign press secretary weighed in on Twitter as well. Brian Fallon tweeted this afternoon about this who would have won question. He said this: I agree Obama would have beaten Trump. I also think Clinton could have, but for Comey. Of course, he's talking about FBI Director James Comey. Despite his win, Trump is weak. Dems must rally. So, David, since they've all now entered this conversation, who's right here? Trump, Obama, or Team Clinton?
I don't think it's much of a conversation. I think it's more like towel snapping in the locker room before the big new game opens on January 20th.
Don't talk about the locker room, David.
And they're both Yeah, exactly. And now Hillary's gotten in there too, so it's going to be interesting. But I think the real significance here, two things. One is that the President Obama made it clear today he's not staying on the sidelines during the Trump years. You know, George W. Bush made a habit of never speaking out at all. He thought that was the proper way to go. I think President Obama is itching to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't undo a lot of his initiatives. He believes in them very strongly, and he's going to fight for them. At the same time, I thought today, for the first time we had from Donald Trump, for the first time he's starting to switch back to where he ought to be. He ought to stop talking about nuclear weapons, and he ought to stop talking about Israel for now. He ought to be talking about the economy and what he plans to do in the first 100 days. Build up the suspense. I'm surprised he hasn't, but that last tweet we heard about tonight, maybe he's moving in that direction.
So, Selena,
Yeah, but David, don't you? I mean, where's any level of maturity, discipline? I mean, the Electoral College has voted. You are going to be president. And I know Senator Santorum wants to say, well, you know, suddenly like a light switch at, you know, noon on January 20th, he's going to suddenly become this much more reserved and mature person. That's not going to happen. Someone needs to be an adult here with this operation and help wean him off of his addiction to Twitter and grow up and prepare to act like the President of the United States of America.
Let me get
This is
Selena.
absurd.
Hold on one second. I see you, Senator. I see your face. Selena, get in on this, though. You spent a lot of time capturing what drew so many voters to Donald Trump during this campaign. To the mayor's point, do you think the people who voted him into office want to see him change? Do they want to see a different Donald Trump on January 20th as they see today?
No, I've seen no evidence of them wanting him to change. Now, that may happen once he becomes president and fires off a series of tweets that they find that are inappropriate. You know, American voters are in like a complex situation right now because they really want to change. They really loved that sort of strength that he emoted and that sort of outside the box attitude and process that he employed. But they also love tradition. So it's going to be kind of fascinating to see how they marry both once as Trump goes forward and see how he does too. We don't know how he's going to behave. We know how he has behaved as president-elect and as a candidate. We'll just see.
I have actually a bit of a different take on what we heard from Donald Trump's tweet about kind of like taking on Obama and talking about the economy. Senator Santorum, if I was looking back on his Twitter feed, the president and the president-elect, they've been very careful, and everyone's talked about this, to play nice with each other since the election. With these tweets where Trump is taking on Obama, Obama is saying that he could have beat Trump, are we seeing the end of that today? They're, for the first time, kind of taking each other on a bit directly.
Oh, I don't think so. President Obama, I think, was pretty clear in his interview that he's going to back down and go quiet for a year or more. And I think he'll realize, hopefully, if he does go quiet, that he had tremendous personal popularity, but that many of his policies were deeply unpopular. What he just did to the state of Israel will be a disaster for the Democrats as they come into this Congress. They will be very much on the defense. They will be running from this president. You know, if you look at the election results, other than him, of Democrats around this country, they've lost seats everywhere. I mean, in Congress and state legislatures and governors and senators. I mean, this has not been Barack Obama, as he would like to portray it, leading this Democratic Party into this new progressive era and all these programs being popular. Quite the contrary. He is popular. His programs are not. And so I don't think he's going to be able to speak out loudly or boldly, not just for the next couple of years, but beyond that, on issues that are important to him.
Well, David, what do you give the final thought here, David? Because Axelrod said today that that Obama is looking to the Bushes as kind of his model of what to be in post-presidency. They've been very quiet and very specific and careful in when they speak out. But Obama also said in this interview that he is going to speak out. He's going to talk about issues he cares about. How do you balance it?
I think he'll only move in on the big issues. He's not going to get onto Twitter and things like that. but he'll, you know, Franklin Roosevelt once said that the presidency is a place of moral leadership, and I think that's where to decide the big issues of our time, to come down one way or the other on the big issues of our time, whether it be climate or gender issues or jobs or a lot of other things. And I think he is going to weigh in. It's very clear that he may observe the George W. Bush rule for about a year, but after that, I think it's fair game because he believes so strongly in what his vision is, and he doesn't want to see it destroyed.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me tonight.
He's 55 years old. He's not going away.
Final thought from Michael Dunner. He's not going away. Thanks, guys. Great to see you. Next, breaking news. President-elect Donald Trump calling the UN just a club for people to have a good time. This, as Israel says, Obama orchestrated a, quote, gang up at the UN. Plus, Trump tries to untangle from his controversial foundation why he may be blocked from shutting it down. And pop star George Michael found dead at his home. My guest, the journalist who interviewed Michael during a crucial turning point in his life.
I spent the first half of my career being accused of being gay when I hadn't had anything like a gay relationship.